Hello everybody, this is Christine Phillips and the final video on how to dream smarter. And in this video, we're going to talk about mapping out the goals that we've been talking about through the other videos. So in this video, I am going to actually share my system as well as discuss how to map them out. And what that means is mapping it out is really taking your goal. We've created a SMART goal. Now we want to break it down into actionable steps. And each of these steps will be classified as either a commitment or a task. So then you can put those individual steps either in your calendar if it's a commitment or in your to-do list if it's a task. So I think the best way is to just dive in and share how to do this. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is OneNote, and right now you're just seeing an individual page on OneNote that's called Map It Out. Now, if I click on this button here, it'll actually expand so you can see that I have created a notebook that I have called 2021 Planner. So every year I create a new notebook for that year that is basically my planner for that year. It contains everything except for my to-do list and my calendar, which are in Outlook, which we will look at later. So each notebook, you can create individual sections. So you can see I have 3 sections here. Each section, you can create pages and to organize all your information. So right now, the section that's highlighted is annual goals. And as you can see, this is where I dream. This is where I have my reflect, evaluate, assess, and now we have a blank page to map out the goals that we've been discussing. I also have a section I call yearly calendar. And this just has one page called year at a glance. And I'm going to just close this back up so you can see this a little better. Both OneNote and Evernote, both of these notebook apps have the ability to be able to insert pictures and PDFs, and it'll display as that document looks. So in other words, this is actually a PDF that I downloaded from a website called calendardate.com that gives the 2021 year in advance, or a year at a glance, sorry, along with the holidays for that year. So I just really like having this all in one place, being able to know when our holidays are and just kind of, what day of the month things land on and so on. And this just helps with planning. And then my final section is daily notes. And this is empty right now because we're not in 2021. But the way I do this is in my daily use of my system. One of the very first things I do is I create a page for that day, and I actually just name it the date for that day. And this is where I gather notes and just general information that I gather throughout the day. Okay, so that's just kind of an overview of my notebook. So now let's map it out. So our first goal that I want to map out, and I'm just going to kind of copy and paste from my other screen to make life a little easier. You don't need to watch me type. So our first goal that we're going to map out is walk at least 7,000 steps per day. Now, you may be thinking, well, isn't that just do it? Don't we just walk 7,000 steps per day? Well, this goal, the way it's written, this is actually a result of walking. The result of taking intentional walks throughout the day results in 7,000 steps. So hopefully that makes sense. We need to figure out, or I need to figure out, what are the intentional walks look like throughout the week or each day in order to achieve this goal. Well, as I mentioned in the evaluate, this is something that I have been testing out 3 days a week. I have replaced my normal morning exercise that used to be in a little room we have here and set up as a gym. I took it outside to walking. So, and so that is an exercise walk. It is a fast walk in about 30, 35 minutes, I do 2 miles. So I've really enjoyed that, and that definitely gets me to my 7,000 step per day goal. So I'm going to set that as one item. I'm going to put a number here so that it numbers things, because I like lists. So that takes care of 3 days a week. So what about the other 4 days? Well, I've learned that if I don't take at least a 1 mile intentional walk a day, there's no way I can achieve 7,000 steps. That sometime throughout the day, I need to take an intentional walk. Well, these I can be a little bit more casual, at least right now. Maybe eventually I can do 4 days a week of an exercise walk or increase that. But right now, personally, just time-wise and just other commitments, I'm going to make this more casual. So I'm going to say 4 days a week, take a excuse me, a 1 mile casual walk. Okay, so that's 7 days a week. Now the question becomes, are these tasks or are these commitments? Well, if you remember, a commitment is something that has a predefined date and time that you're going to accomplish that particular item, that particular task. So these, in order for me to get them done, I need to do that. I need to set a specific day and a specific time in order to get these done. So these are commitments, and they are going to go in my calendar. I'm just going to write that down for now. I want to map out the other one, and then we will go to my calendar and to-do list so you can see how this actually, the next step of mapping things out. Okay. So walking 7,000 steps per day, we have commitments for every day of the week in order to achieve that. So now what about start classes to pursue my MBA? I'm going to put that over here just to have a separate list side by side. Okay, now one thing I forgot to mention with the previous one, but with either of these options, it is a good practice if you're using a paper journal, a paper planner. I would use a scrap piece of paper at first. This one probably doesn't matter. If you have a note page that you know you want to document these commitments, that's fine. It's a little bit smaller. But this one, in pursuing our MBA, you may want to put it on a scrap paper first, and as we go through, you'll kind of see why. So now I need to think of, in order to start classes, what do I need to do? Well, I need to apply to schools. So we'll say apply to, I'm going to call them programs because we'll take the underline off. But before we apply, we need to select, I'm going to just say 5 programs to apply to. I don't know why these are all. But before we can select it, we need to research MBA programs. So what else are we missing? We need to, and then we need to decide to attend, and then I'm going to put start classes. That's kind of our ultimate task. And that, to ask the question, are these tasks or commitments? Remember, commitments, you are doing these items on a specific day and time. A task is something that you can do anytime, but it needs to be completed by a certain date and time. That's the differentiator. So these are definitely tasks. And these are going to go okay, so these go into my to-do list. But these aren't in order by any stretch of the imagination. So I am going to take some time and put them in order here. And if you have a paper planner or journal, that's what you want to do. You want to take it from your scrap and you now want to put it in order. So I'm just gonna create this down here. And we know to start classes that the first thing we need to do, I think we need to research first. So we're going to take this one and copy it down here and number it 1. Okay, and then number 2, after we research, we need to apply. And then after we apply, well, we need to wait and see. Wait a minute. Nope, wait a minute. We need to decide. I think this should be decide on programs to apply, not attend. Oh no, select, decide on a program. I apologize. All right, so we applied to them. Now we need to, this is why it got me confused. We need to select, we want a short list. So there we go. We've researched the programs, select 5 from what you researched to apply to the programs. Then you want to decide, and then you want to start. Sorry about that, everyone, but there we go. We got them in order. So the brainstorming, you may not think of things in the right order, so it's good to kind of brainstorm them out first. Then we kind of organize them. And then in your planner, when you put them in your planner this way, what I would recommend is, you know for a fact that the date on this one is, I'm going to just say 9/1/2021. Okay, you want to put some sort of date. Tasks, the dates are what help us prioritize. It's a target. It's a more of, we want to try to be done by this date, or we should be done by this date. So that is kind of a target to shoot for. And why I say try is sometimes early on, you may be changing dates often just because things pop up and get in the way, and you don't, sometimes you just can't get done by a certain time for whatever reason. Anyway, so you want to start with a date here. When we go into my to-do, I'll show you a little bit more about using dates to prioritize and what that looks like. But in your planner, I would at least date this one. And you may even want to put a date on this one so you know when you need to have that done by, when you're looking through things and knowing when to put it on your to-do list in your planner, okay? So this is the first step of mapping it out. It's just kind of the brainstorm of the individual steps. Well, now let's go to our calendar and the to-do list and see the next step. Okay, so this is my Outlook account. And I just kind of selected the calendar icon here so you can see my calendar. And I am looking at the weekly view. So if you scroll this, you can see there's a month. You can look at the entire month. You can just look at the work week. I almost never do that. I like seeing the weekends. Or you can do an individual day. You can actually look at the day and it'll give like an agenda item on it. So I have already finished the map it out process for my commitments for walking 7,000 steps per day for this week. So this is, I have 3 exercise walks in the mornings, and you can see the Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've kept with my regular exercise routine, which is a little bit earlier in the mornings, but then Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm heading to a local trail that's very close to my house and going outside and actually taking a 2-mile walk. Okay, so that's 3 days a week. And then here in this view, you can see 3 of the 4 days. So I am taking a casual walk. I'm calling it a dog walk. Basically, take the dog for a little walk on Tuesdays, Thursday, and then Saturday in the morning. And I'm also doing it Sunday. You just can't see it in this view. So part of Map It Out is not only mapping the big goals like we just discussed, but also mapping out the smaller goals as well. So we're going to kind of look at that going back and forth between the calendar and the to-do on how to do that. But normally, and the reason this is already mapped out my commitments, on Sunday mornings, I will do a smaller version of the reflect, evaluate, assess, and map. So I'll reflect back on the previous week and look at tasks and mostly tasks. I mean, hopefully all your commitments you fulfilled. That's kind of the point of a commitment. Some things have been canceled, obviously, but for the most part, you're looking at your calendar and your to-do and things that haven't been accomplished. You're evaluating and deciding what am I going to work on the coming week. You then assess by looking at your calendar and some of your other commitments. You can see here I have have to take the dog to the vet on Friday. So that way you can fit this in. This doesn't show my work commitments, which is fine, but I do have a view of a calendar that allows me to see both my work and personal commitments so that I can properly map things out. And then you prioritize your tasks or your to-dos for the week as well. So let's look at our other goal and how that maps out in our to-do list. So I can get to my to-do right here, clicking on the check mark over on the left-hand side, and this defaults to a view that it's looking at. You can kind of see how this is sectioned out. Up here, you have a section called My Day, and this allows you to basically assign certain tasks to the day to work on, which you can see I have 4. You can mark things as important. We have planned. This is one thing that's nice of picking a task list or a to-do list that's associated with Microsoft or Gmail. In both cases, you can mark emails that you need to take action on. I don't have any of those. I don't use that feature, but in my email, I could flag it and it would show up here if I need to take action on that particular email in some way, shape, or form. And then tasks. These are just kind of general tasks. You can see I have a few here that are questions. And then down here are my organized lists. As we mentioned before, you want to try to have a to-do list that you can organize. In a planner, what it's going to be is you're going to have organized lists on your blank note pages that are basically organized tasks that you want to have accomplished. And in your case, you're going to take tasks from those lists and you're going to put them in your weekly to-do list. Well, in the digital format, you can have, this symbol here represents a list, and I've already created a list. And that's just as simple as you just click here and type, and it'll create a new list for pursuing an MBA. You can group lists into like categories using this group feature and creating a group, which is what I have here. So these are all my lists, all grouped together and organized. This is my life. So I'm not opening them to share, but that would be too much information. But anyway, just so you know that this is how this is organized. So I created one that I just called Pursue My MBA. You can put the whole thing in there, but I figure as we add to this and we go beyond starting with classes, that we can add tasks to this that will actually, be to fully pursue that MBA throughout time, and we can kind of keep adding on to this list. All right, so I am going to, let me go find my notebook on my other screen here, and for those tasks that we put in order so I can copy and paste. So to add tasks is as simple as click. I'm going to copy and paste each one in order. All right, bear with me, this won't take long. Okay, so at first, this is actually putting things in order, in reverse order. This is starting with the last thing first. So over here, you can see there's a way to sort this list. So I'm going to select that we, right now by creation date, and then if I click this little arrow here, it'll do the reverse order. So it was putting the last thing I created first. So now it's putting the first thing I created first, and putting it in that order, at least for now. Now I'm going to start at the bottom, simply because we know this date and want to share with you the breakdown of each of these tasks. So here you can see there's a lot of options here. We can take a task and even break it down into individual steps. This may be good for apply to programs. You can put each individual program listed here, and as you complete each one, you can check them off. And then once you've applied to everything, then you can check off the main, you can see where there's a plus. You can mark it as completed by going here. But this we know we want to start. So excuse me while I scroll through the months. Oops. And get to September, and I'm just going to select a date of September 1, 2021. Dates are a way and tasks to be able to prioritize your items, particularly when you, as you can see, you can end up, this is where I work, so you can end up with a lot of different buckets in your life. You can add up with a lot of different tasks. So it's a good way to be able to know what is upcoming in all the different areas of my life to be able to achieve that goal. So with that, you may think, well, I guess now I have to figure out dates for each one of these tasks. Well, not necessarily. A good way to start, if putting dates to every single one of these seems a little overwhelming, is just put a date on the first one. So the first step we want to do is we want to research MBAs. So I'm going to say that I want to do that. I'm actually going to do that pretty early, even though this is 2021 goals. So I'm going to set it for, we'll just put it for the 8th of January, since the 1st, that's a holiday. We don't want to do that. We don't want to work on a holiday. So I'll set a goal of having that by the 1st week of January to have all my research completed, okay? So, and where you can do that research, you can see there's notes here if you want to put the notes in there for the research of what you've, or you just have a blank page in your notebook. That's why I actually have multiple notebooks. So if this was my goal, I would actually have a notebook. I actually do have a notebook called Professional Development. That would be kind of your group as a professional development group. And then I have a section, I would have a section in there called Pursue My MBA. And then that way you can have several pages of maybe a page for each school that you're doing research on. It doesn't matter at that point. You just have a place where you can gather and collect all the information you're going to get from the research. So as you get close to where you feel like you have, these two steps may kind of go hand in hand, where you think you have a pretty good list of different programs and you're starting to evaluate them and to select them, then you'll want to set a date of when you want to select your programs by here. Now, as you go through this, like I said, these are target dates, because then you're going to apply to the programs. Programs, you may need to apply by a certain date in order to start classes in the fall. You may find as you go through that and you learn more as you go through these steps, that maybe you can start earlier, maybe start as more in August. I think most colleges really do start in August versus September. Or you may find that you've kind of started a little too late and you're not going to be able to start classes until the second semester, which is January of the following year. And that's fine. The idea is you've gotten started and you can start going through setting dates and setting priorities. Now a little bit of a talk on, like I said, how you do this on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. Once you have dates set for all the tasks that you feel comfortable dating at this point in time, what you can do in your tasks and your to-dos is this is where you go to your planned. And like I said, this is a lot of my personal information, so I'm not going to go there. But the way planned is organized is first it'll list out things that are past due. So you can look at the things and reflect on what you did not accomplish in the previous week and see what you need to change the date to. Maybe it's something that has been put on hold that you can push out, either remove the due date entirely or maybe push it out several months so you don't have to look at it for a little while. Maybe it's something that you really should have gotten done, so you just need to change the date. And one thing I'll do is if I know it needs to be accomplished that week, but I'm not really sure when that week I want to do it, in this particular system, I will just, for that particular item, I just pick the last day of that week. So I know I want to get this done by the end of the week. I'll select the 14th, that Saturday. So that way it appears, and the way that, like I said, the next section would be what's due tomorrow. It'll list things that you have dated for the next day. And then the third section, it'll show what is due this coming week. So it'll actually show you a list, kind of organized, past due, due tomorrow, due this week. So that way you can see what tasks you have available for that week, and whether it's realistic. Remember, we're doing SMART goals here, and when we organize our week, kind of our goal for the week is to get everything done that we say we're going to get done for that week. So you just want to be realistic of, does it make sense that I can really accomplish all these goals, or do some things need to get pushed to the following week because you just know there's other things going on that make life too busy. So hopefully that makes sense. That is how I actually map out my goals, whether it be a goal of tasks, and I'll put it here in my to-do list, or whether it's a goal of commitments where I'm going to put them on my calendar. I then will, like I said, I actually at the beginning of each week will reflect back on the previous week and look at what I missed as far as tasks or commitments that I need to reschedule. I will then evaluate which ones I can accomplish, evaluate and assess really at the same time. And what can I accomplish this week based on other commitments I have going on? And I will set dates and commitments accordingly in order to make sure I can achieve my goals. So I hope this was helpful. I'm really looking forward to hearing what goals people have set for themselves for the coming year, and how it's going as far as meeting your steps, meeting your goals, and mapping things out. If you have any questions, post them in the comments below. And I really look forward to how we can expand on this particular topic of time management, time stewardship, to be able to help you achieve your goals. So good luck and thank you.